Hey there! Today I would like to talk a bit about a fairly interesting event I attended recently. Insights X in Nuremberg. I have posted quite a couple of pictures from Nuremberg on my Instagram account, I think. But we were invited to this event. And Insights X is you could say it's a show, but it's more like a trade fair. And it deals with a number of things. So there is some writing equipment, there is some paper, but there's also sort of craft articles, there is school items. So it's a trade fair organized by the Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg, and basically traders can meet. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap because I assume that many of you have not been there. So I thought it might be fun to just quickly go through that. First of all, a very kind thank you to the organizers from Insights X, because the organization was very well, everything was arranged well, accommodation was arranged for us, so that's all very neat. But apart from that, the actual show, I think, was organized very nicely as well. Nicely set up, spacious, very nice. And of course the venue was the Nuremberg Messe, which is a very large sort of fair building where you can have trade shows, etc. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about this fair. First of all, when I say fair, I don't really mean a show as many people know who have ever been to a pen show, because at a pen show people show off their products and you purchase them there. At this show you couldn't really make individual purchases. It is just an opportunity for manufacturers, etc. to show off their new products, and that's the goal in a trade fair like that. You look around as a trader, you look around as a manufacturer, you see what trends are, what your competitors are doing, what your colleagues are doing. You can exchange ideas, and you have a good time. So as I said, Insights, one thing that's very noticeable there is that at Insights X it's definitely not all about writing equipment. There was some writing equipment, and when we arrived we already got a goodie bag full of stuff. Some of those products are very useful to me personally as a reviewer of fountain pens, because there was some pens from online, there was some other stuff that I will review and give away in due course, but there was also a lot of other stuff geared more towards children, etc. because the fair is focused not just on writing equipment but also on paper, on craft articles, on school backpacks, that kind of stuff. So it's very broad. It's stationery in a very broad sense. I really enjoyed it. So we had a blogger meetup there, which means that on one day, the Saturday, it was early October, we got a special tour of some of the vendors at the fair. They showed us some of the new products they're working on, and a lot of that was not at all fountain pen related, so I won't go into great detail here, but companies are working on very neat stuff. Apps, you see that, I found that an interesting development, that a lot of companies are now working on apps, whether it's apps to optimize making those sort of photo books that where you come back from your holiday and you put photographs together and you have that printed as a book. Companies are working on that, and companies are working on, that was Stadler, they are working on websites and I think also an app where you can actually design your own pen, have that made and then have it sent to you. So that's very interesting. So you really see that companies, even analog companies that work with writing products, etc., are really starting to digitize and are starting to tap into the digital market, which I think is very interesting. So we had this blogger meetup. I spent a very pleasant afternoon with Dries from the Pencil Case blog, as well as Tessa from All Things Stationery. And there were other bloggers. There was Matthias from the Bleistift blog, and there were also a couple of bloggers who actually don't have anything to do with pens or writing equipment, but are more in the field of children product blogs, because as I said, it's a very broad trade fair. So these people I kind of hung out with. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's always interesting to see what other bloggers are doing. And the interesting thing was, we actually had a tour. So the Insights organization kind of toured us past a number of the exhibitors on the fair, and we got a little bit of an explanation and insight into what they were working on. Some really big players were there. Stabilo, maker of those nice highliners, fineliners, highlighters, fine liners, sorry, that kind of stuff. Staedtler, which is actually a company from Nuremberg, so it makes a lot of sense for them to be there. They showed off those new sort of the website where you can design a pen and have it sent to you. They also had a couple of very nice, very high-end fountain pens with them. I did not even know that Staedtler made pens in that price range. Then you're thinking of something like 1,400 euros, so that's a lot more expensive than the Resina and the Metallum that I've used and reviewed before. That was very interesting. Many other companies, even Platinum was there, the Platinum fountain pens. They seem to be, I almost thought, a little bit, definitely not out of their league, but out of place at their show, because that's such a fountain pen focused company and such high-end pens, where a lot of the pens shown there were really geared towards school children. School pens, as you may or may not know, in Germany school children still have to write with fountain pens in school, so there's a lot of children-oriented pens. I was very surprised at that. But Platinum was very pleasant, had a few pens with them. The vice president of Platinum himself was there. We sat down with him and his two very nice colleagues and discussed sort of Japanese fountain pen history. Very interesting, very pleasant talk. Online was there. That's a maker of very affordable pens, a lot of plastic, but usually pretty nice nibs, and we got some of their material as promotional material, so that's very nice. That will be reviewed. And I enjoyed this blogger tour. I enjoyed going to the various exhibitors, not all of them, because there are 3 giant halls of exhibitors. It's enormous. So to see a select group of the exhibitors there and hear what they were working on. And again, not all of it was interesting for me personally. For example, an extensive treatise on the latest news in school backpacks for children, to me as a fountain pen blogger, is not necessarily interesting, but I did find it very interesting to see what an enormous industry this is. You could say that backpacks for school children are kind of stationery. It's a bit of a stretch, but kids use them to carry stationery, so a lot of these people who work on backpacks also work on pen pouches, etc. And you start to get more of a feeling of the enormous body of research and development that goes into the creation of these products. I found that very interesting. I found it very interesting to interact with vendors. Caveco was there. I assembled my own Caveco Sport, which is a very cute and nice feature they had present at this fair. Caveco is always an interesting company, I think, and of course is also located in Nuremberg, so for them it makes a lot of sense to be present at a show like that. So I enjoyed that, and my lovely assistant was rummaging around here. Thank you. So here's the sport that I assembled. Oh yeah. Then there is some. These are some of the online pens that we received. One that I particularly enjoyed because it has a 1.4mm nib. That's quite wide, especially for a pen in this price segment. So there was definitely a lot of interesting stuff, and of course these products will be reviewed. So walking around, looking at everything, seeing the enormity of that world, seeing the interaction between vendors, that was also a lot of fun to watch, where I think it was the marketing director of Kuhn, who they make those very fancy pencil sharpeners, went up to Platinum and was talking to the Platinum people about the pens they make and how he liked that and how he'd been to Japan, etc. So watching the dynamics of people in the stationery business at large come together, watch them interact, is a lot of fun, and I think it was very interesting. So, if you ever happen to be in Nuremberg around October, I think it's October every year, Insights is definitely an interesting thing to visit. Don't expect to be bombarded with fountain pens, and if you're watching this, you probably are interested in fountain pens, given what I do in this channel. But interesting, different, and I found it very fascinating to look at that world, because it's not something I'm extremely familiar with. And there you have it. So, thank you again to the Insights organizers for being such welcoming hosts. It was very pleasant. Should you think, but Brown, where's all the evidence? Aziza took a lot of pictures, so you can always check out gourmetpens.com. She has a post with a large number of pictures of the show. That should give you a good visual impression, but I prefer to just blabber on, so I thought I would just give you a verbal impression. Now, hope this was interesting, hope this was useful, thank you for bearing with me, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye bye.